Good morning. It's Thursday morning. And what could go wrong? It's wonderful. It's a good day, and I hope you're well. This is going to be our last video on happiness. I've just taken most of it out of this wonderful book, What Happy People Know, The Science of Happiness, How to Change Your Life for the Better. And it was given to me by a member of Holy Innocents, Mr. Paul DeNicola. And I am forever grateful in my heart and prayers to him for this book because it has had a profound impact on my life. One of the problems with happiness is, of course, that we practice, as Dr. Baker says, the 4 Ds. We demand that our lives be better, that this not be our fate, whatever it is. We devalue our efforts because we struggle. Not everything is successful. We demean ourselves. I've talked about Charlie Brown, not the Thanksgiving and the Halloween and the Christmas stuff. But in the videos my grandchildren are watching, there's a lot of self-deprecating language. I'm just a loser. And we do demean ourselves, and that does not help because actually it's not true. And lastly, we discard often the lessons that sadness and unhappiness can teach us. So we'll say a little bit about all that. When I was in high school, we had shirts under our uniforms, baseball uniforms, that said that which does not kill us will make us stronger in the end. And that's from Friedrich Nietzsche, maybe. He was a brilliant guy. He was a professor of the chair of philology at the University of Basel at 24 years old. And he's very quotable. Everyone quotes Nietzsche. I don't think we understand any of the quotes. They're all out of context. But he once said that the great danger to a marriage, he was very wise, the great danger to a marriage is not the lack of love. The great danger to a marriage is the lack of friendship. That's the greatest danger. He also said once that without music, life would be a mistake. So the question is, can we be happy in times of trial and sorrow? Well, if happiness is an emotion, the answer is absolutely not. But it can't be an emotion. It can't be an emotion. It has to be a conviction that through dark times, we will survive. It is happiness. The road to happiness is in religious literature. It certainly is in the Gospels. Your sorrow will be turned to joy. And the way of the cross is not a way to misery and oblivion. It is a way to resurrection. As Aeschylus said, we learn through suffering. So there is a cycle, though, of sorrow. None of us can create a world that's totally convenient. It's just a contradiction in terms. I've shared some of this about my father, a lot about my dad. He was a very pivotal man in my life. He buried 2 wives and 2 daughters when it came time to really bury him. I told you a story. I think I told you this in a sermon once, that we were having family ice cream. You know, back in the day, you had to go to this confectioner store, and Mr. Stanley Dunkelman would put ice cream in a quart container, and you took it home there. So believe it or not, I predate supermarkets. God. But we didn't have big freezers. We had little dinky things hanging in the fridge, ice box, where the ice went in kind of containers. But we didn't have freezers to store food. You went to the little market regularly. And there used to be ice cream in the crevices of the boxes. He would spoon it out to the 3 kids, basically. And the kid who got the box, we rotated it around because there was little ice cream in the crevices, and you could open up the box and scoop it another spoon or two. And I remember one day he said to me, he said to the kid, "All right, who's got the box?" And it was my turn. And he said that he held the box and he said, "Can I live with you when I get old?" Yeah. Well, of course, and that was kind of a mantra we used at times as I married Mary and had our grandchildren. And as he visited from New York, he lived in New York. In all that cold weather, he wouldn't come south. But he lived in New York, and he loved us passionately and deeply, and he always remembered the kids' birthdays and always remembered the grandchildren so carefully. He gave them savings bonds. He was just a great Republican. He really was. And my love for him was beyond measure, basically. But he had a stroke. I was out in the backyard working on a day off in 1995. When my daughter, who was off from school for some reason, yelled out the window, "Daddy, Daddy, it's the police on the phone." And it was the New York police. That my father had had a stroke and that he had turned water on in his bathroom and it had spilled into all the house down below. Oh, it was a mess. And that he had been hospitalized. And he really never recovered. A doctor called me on the phone. A doctor called me several times and told me that he'd gone into a lethargy and that I should make plans to liquidate his apartment. And so Mary and I, it was brutal. Mary and I took a U-Haul truck and we rented it up in New York and filled it up with the stuff we wanted. And then I guess gave the rest away. I don't remember. But it was just a mournful trip. And we drove it back to Atlanta. And a doctor called me on the phone and he said to me, "Mr. Porter, I'm having your father's doing a little better. He's going to be released from the hospital. And I need to warn you, son, Mr. Porter, that your father said he's going to live with you. And he cannot. He cannot. He is too ill." And we, we went up to New York and we got him in the plane and we flew him to Atlanta. It was a Sunday. We had already gotten a small little nursing home, a little residence with a nurse there. It was 3 or 4 other men. And it was not far from the house, or not far from where we lived. And he stayed there. It broke his heart because we were watching we were watching the Giants play football on a Sunday afternoon, and the Giants game, and when it was over, he looked at me and he said, "Johnny, I'm begging you, let me live with you." We're all set to drive him to his home, his new home. And I said, "Dad, I can't." And we did take him. I would visit him, and he'd be out in the driveway in a chair waiting for me. It was just awful. And he died. He died in about a week. And I think he kind of died of a broken heart, to be honest with you. And so therefore, I'm telling you all this, not to relive the mourning and the grief. What I'm telling you is that there are moments in your life when happiness is assaulted by circumstances. And the death of this man has haunted me because Mary and I drove away from the funeral and she said to me, I think we could have done it. I think we probably could have done it. And you never know. You never know. The poem by John Greenleaf Whittier, the last verse: "Of all sad words of tongue and pen, the saddest are these. Oh, it might have been." Oh, Lord. you do the best you can. And I'm going to conclude this in just a little bit. Grace comes in all the strangest places. All the strangest places. And I remember reading a book about, I've traveled to Israel, and I'm very pro-Israeli. I'm not anti-Palestinian, but I love the Israelis. And I lived with Palestinians in 1985 in Ramallah, and I lived in East Jerusalem with a Jewish family. I was there for about 5 weeks. And got to love the land. But there's a book published by a literary author, Raoul, Raoul Bergman. He's a military journalist and has access to the Mossad, Caesarea, the Israeli IDF, the defense forces, and they quote the Talmud: if your enemy is coming against you, rise up and kill him first. If your enemy is coming against you to kill you, rise up and kill him first. That's in the Talmud. And so it's been the movement of the Israeli defense forces. If they're going to find a terrorist, they go in and take him out. Look, I'm not into the politics of this. In Beirut, they knew there was a terrorist. They knew he frequented a theater. When he came out with his girlfriend, arm in arm down the street, the Israeli IDF came, the Caesarea came and shot him, killed him. And it turns out they had bad intel. He wasn't a terrorist at all, that man. They killed the wrong man. And I remember a distinction. Grace comes from all over. A distinction was given, namely that it wasn't a failure. They had to go see the prime minister and say that they had made a mistake. And the prime minister said, as long as it's a mistake and not a failure. And I realized that I was calling my life with my dad a failure. And it wasn't a failure. If he should have lived with us and he didn't, I've learned that it was a mistake. And you can forgive mistakes. And so I've learned slowly to forgive myself. Guilt is not a companion to happiness. Guilt is not necessary. Guilt is not demanded. Grief, yes. Sorrow, yes. Repentance, yes. Sadness, yes, but not guilt. It's a waste of your energy and a destruction of your being. It doesn't help. It masquerades as grief. It's not. It's dangerous. And denial, of course, is just as bad. Oh, well, too bad. No, I mean, you've got to understand that you have made a mistake. I remember Eleanor Roosevelt once said, don't count your mistakes. Leave some for other people. They're going to make them too. So how can I forgive myself? The four Ds that are militating against our happiness is demand. We demand that things be different. We demand that things be different. We devalue our efforts because we have not been successful. We have made a mistake. We demean ourselves. I'm just a loser. And we discard then the lessons that could be learned. As Aeschylus said, the one who learns life must learn through suffering, even in your sleep. For drop by drop upon the heart, even against your will, comes wisdom. Through the all-filled grace of God. So when you feel like being a victim, stop. When you feel like you're entitled, stop. When you feel the need to blame, stop. And there are happiness questions that are in this book that he asks himself. What makes you happy? You should know an answer. should have an answer. What makes me happy? Why am I happy? What makes me happy? Why am I happy? What do I like at times of mistakes? What do I like best about myself? What is my best quality, even in my mistake? What do I enjoy most about myself? Who appreciates me the most? What are my core beliefs? And what values do I live by? So, we're going to end this. We've already been going 15 minutes and 39 seconds. We're going to end this little bit. I'm going to go on a vacation, perhaps. Hopefully, I can get the family down to Florida. I don't know that we're going. I hope we can. The little grandchildren want to come. And I hope and pray we can. I want to say we're going to pause these videos, and Bill Murray, whom I have nothing but profound affection and respect for, he and I have talked, and I'm going to withdraw a bit from the parish rota on Sunday morning. I'm going to be sitting in the bullpen. I'm a bullpen pitcher now. I come in and mop up the game when we're ahead 9 runs or behind 9 runs. So I'm going to be on call. I'll show up on the rota, I'm sure, every now and then, because you have a marvelous staff. Bill Murray and Buddy Crawford, Kenya Thompson, Ruth Pattison, and oh, by the way, don't forget the sleeper in the group, Hannah Kelly. This kid is good, and that's important, and the future is there. So I want to hang on the back. Bill and I've talked about it. I'm so grateful to him for inviting me in when there was a need, and the need is not so obvious now. But I'm hoping to re-engage at his beck and call. It's wonderful. I have nothing but gratitude and nothing but love for the parish. And quite frankly, for many of you, I'm a little bummed out you never became a corporate sponsor, but, forget that. So I'm going to say so long. I'm not going to say goodbye. I'm just going to say so long, and I'll do it with a little song. So long, it's been good to know you. So long, it's been good to know you. So long, it's been good to know you. It's a long time since I've been home, and I gotta be drifting along. Holy innocents and staff are among the best, and Rector Bill Murray passes the test. Your future is bright, and you should boast. Oh, but I'll miss Sunday morning the most. So long, it's been good to know you. So long, it's been good to know you. So long, it's been good to know you. It's a long time since I've been home, and I gotta be drifting along. Until next time.